Hey, just a real quick primer for this episode. If you are not doing elevator manip, but you're just here for like the walkthrough part as far as what to do on the shops and money stuff, make sure to check out the chapters, the timestamped chapters, just to get the parts that you need. If you are doing elevator manip, this is a very dense, extremely nitty-gritty episode that might be a little bit overwhelming. Definitely check out the next video in the playlist once you have all the information from this one, where I break down how to practice elevator manip on console. And hopefully, once you have the information from this episode, hopefully that one will kind of put it all together in a more digestible way than this one does, especially if you're looking to practice. All right, let's get to it. So now that we understand exactly how field RNG works, we are now going to talk about exactly how the elevator works. I think I should YouTube edit this to the beginning of the elevator manipulation part of the tutorial. So let me say this right up front. If you don't want to manipulate the elevator, take the stairs. You will be just fine. If you are just starting running this game, take the fucking stairs, alright? Learn this later. This right here is a huge pain in the ass and a huge amount of work to save like 1 minute, alright? Take the stairs. However, this is the comprehensive tutorial, so we are getting comprehensive and we're gonna do it. The elevator has one more very important value called your Hito count, or I call it your Hito count. So you'll notice right now it's 0, but that doesn't matter because we're not in the field yet. When you first load into the field, it's 0. But it immediately starts counting up. And every single frame, if we pause, every frame, boom, boom. Every frame it's counting up by 1. Now, for some reason, though, it's a 1 byte number, and you would expect it to roll over at 256. For some reason, it actually rolls over at 254. It gets up to 253. Boom, it's 0. So for some reason, it rolls over at 254 instead of 256. But the point is, it's counting up by 1 every frame. Why do we call it the Hito count, and why does it roll over at 254? Because back here, behind this door, back here, there is a guy back there, and his name is Hito. I'm not joking. Open it up in Mako Reactor. Go to field 232. Hito. There he is. Here he is. And his main script involves taking variable 59, which is what we refer to as Hito, and adding 1 to it. And then if it's greater than or equal to 254, reset it to 0. So that's why it's the Hito count, and that's why it rolls over at 254, is because for some reason they hard-coded it to do so. So there you go. Your Hito count just goes up every frame. All right? Now, it does not go up during certain circumstances. You may notice that it is a field script that is counting up, right? It's this guy who's on the field. So if we deload the field, such as by opening the menu, the Hito count stops. It's at 208. If we go back in, it starts up again. If we go in the menu, check this out. If we exit the menu and hold triangle immediately, it's able to run the script 1 time and count it up by 1 if we do that. But then we're back out here. Other times that the Hito count is not going up is during a battle, because then you're in the battle module and not on the field. And it also doesn't go up when you're talking to Hito. One thing that I did not really talk about yet is we talked about how if you land on all of these different floors, you get into a battle. If you land on a floor, however, where the 2 digits would have a sum of 11, then something different happens. So those are floors 29, 38, 47, and 56. Those 4 floors have a very special event that happens. We're going to force floor 29 here so that you can see if you land on floor 29. Oh my god! There's Hito! There he is! You talk to him. And so, actually, when you talk to Hito, notice that stops the count. The reason being that you have stopped his main script and you have initiated one of these other scripts that's now running. I don't know which one exactly it is. But yeah, you've executed that script instead now, and so the main script of him counting goes away for the time being. And then when you're done talking to him, and the moment, check this out, this is important, the moment that your paralysis, remember paralysis? The moment that your paralysis goes away, actually, it's a little bit beforehand. So then his Hito count starts going up again. Oh, yeah, and then, like, the door has to close and stuff. All right. So, yeah. So then you lose paralysis after the Hito count stops and all that. So, that's Hito. That's the Hito count. So what actually happens? We're on floor 29 right now. So, let's talk about what actually happens when you strike this button. Our Hito count is 20 right now. So if I hold circle and unpause the emulator, that's going to press the button on the next frame, which is going to be on Hito count 21. So I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen here. I'm going to explain it real quick, and then we're going to do the math. What it's going to do is it's going to use the Hito count to set a new stone. Then it's going to call RNG. Then it's going to take the number that gets returned, and it's going to do some math on it, and that's the number that's going to be the number of floors that you jump. So, exactly what that is we're going to hit the button on frame 21. Then, it's going to wait 50 frames. The game just waits 50 frames before it does any math, and so the Hito count is going to go up to 71. The way that it uses the Hito count to set a new stone is it just mods it by 16, right? And then it uses that as its H value. So remember, H is a number from 0 to 15, and then you multiply it by 16, you add 1, that's how you get a valid stone. And so to get that H, we just take the Hito count to set that. So mod it by 16, our H is 7. So take the 7, multiply it by 16, and add 1, our stone is 113. So it's going to set stone to 113. Then it's going to call RNG, which is going to take our current list value of 82, and it's going to add 113 to it. So our new list is going to be 195. So the number that actually returns to the script is going to be the 195th number, or the 196th number, on the spreadsheet. And so position 195 would be 192, 3, 4, 5, right? 192, 193, 194, 195. So position 195, right? That's the position. So it's going to get number 75. 75 is the random number that it is going to receive. And so it's going to take that number, 75, mod 16, then mod 9, and then plus 7. So 9 floors is how many floors that we're going to go up. So we started on floor 29, so we are going to land on floor 38. Guess what? That's going to be a Hito floor. So here we go. Are you guys ready? Just like I said, what's going to happen? I'm going to unpause, we're going to hit the button, and we're going to land on floor 38. There you go. So, that right there, that is exactly how the game decides what floor you're going to land on. As you can see, just like we said, stone got set to 113, then list incremented to 195. So what it does is you hit the button, it waits 50 frames, uses Hito to set a new stone, then calls RNG, takes the number that it gets returned to it, mod 16, mod 9 plus 7, getting you a range from 7 to 15, where 14 and 15 are half as likely as 7 through 13, and then it jumps that many floors. That means that we could use this information to our advantage and start to manipulate what's happening here. Okay, so I've got another fun Python script to show you real quick. I think it's main 2. Yeah. So we can use this to be predictive. We're on floor 38 right now. If we were to feed this script I wrote that we're on list 195 and our current Hito count is 192, that means that if we were to hit the button 11 frames later, that would get us well, 12 frames total. That will get us a jump of 9, which has an arrow pointing to it because it's going to land us on floor 47, which is another manager. And so, remember that trick I showed you a second ago? That's actually very relevant. We are going to thoroughly abuse the fact that that we're going to thoroughly abuse the fact that the Hito count doesn't increase in the menu. And we're going to use menu buffers in order to count up exactly 11 frames before hitting the button. So check it out. We're at 92 right now, and the script says 11 menu buffers will get us a 9 jump from starting at list 195. Because remember, our current stone doesn't matter at all, because it's just going to get set by Hito. So starting at list 195 and a Hito of 92, that means that, starting at list 195... Okay, so let's say this another way. We're at list 195 right now, which is this one. Which means any one of these numbers are the only numbers that we could get for our next jump. It could only be one of these 16, because it's going to set stone based on Hito, mod 16, and that's going to be a stone that's going to land us on any one of these numbers and only these numbers. And so these numbers are the only jumps that we can get. So from any one position on list, there's only 16 floors that you could land on. And so the script that I wrote says, here are the 16 possibilities. And so we want the 12th one. And so here we go. We're going to count up one by one. 1, 2, 3. And you see Hito counting up by 1 every time. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And now we hit the button. Floor 47. And that is a manager. That's Hito. This isn't a script that you use during a run. This is just so that we understand exactly how this shit works. And you start to see, right? Like, how we can kind of control it, right? And we can, and it's predictable. How then do we actually manipulate the elevator then? Well, that requires you to know exactly how many frames that you're spending in the elevator. So our entire time that we are in the elevator is an extremely controlled process where we only allow the Hito count to go up as much as we very much expect it to. And so what that causes is for us to have to make diagrams like this for ourselves so that we can start to look at this shit. So, first of all, let's take how the PC users have been doing this for a while. You'll notice that when I used my script, I had to provide the script where we were on the RNG table in order for it to know where our first jump could be. Yeah? But remember when I said that when you reset your console, that your list starts at 0? So also, there is a save point right in front of the Shinra HQ. So you could save there and reset your console, and now we know that you're at RNG position 0. And then that means that all of these are your potential first jump. So I wrote another script for, research and development. Well, actually, okay, so first, I'm just going to show you something real quick. I wrote a script where you put in a list, there we go, and it automatically simulates a whole bunch of bullshit, and it finds this manipulation for you. Okay, cool. However, this is actually suboptimal. So then I wrote another script where you do it yourself, where it's like, okay, from 0, let's say you started at 0, these are all of the potential first jumps that you can have. There's a reason it goes up to 17 instead of 15 that we'll get into in a minute. Actually, the reason it goes up to 17 is because the deal is, for the very first button press, we can't be as controlled as we're going to be for the later ones, and so we need to aim for like a window of 3 so that we can be a frame early or a frame late, and we'll still get something that's good. And the first floor that you want is 19, 15, or 17, because those are the 3 floors that have the fastest battle. Because every floor isn't a random battle, it's a specific battle. Every floor has a hard-coded battle. 15, 17, 19 are the 3 fastest. And so what we like to have is a window of 3 that we aim for the middle on. So let's say we took that, the 15. So there you go. So now you're on floor 15, your list would be 193, and your count at this point would be 185 starting. And so, like, when you reach the button. And so that means that now, it's a little tough to explain what exactly we do here. I kind of have to show it and then explain it again. But if you were to walk up to the button and then wait 3 or 4 extra frames, or 10 or 11, that would land you on floor 29. So let's say we did 4. Then, if after talking to the manager, if you were to walk up to the button and wait 3 extra frames and then press the button again, that would land you on floor 38. Then, if you were to walk up to the button and wait 2 extra frames, that would land you on floor 47. Walk up to the button, wait 5 extra frames, that would land you on floor 59. Thus, this is your Manip. And you are done. You would be done with the elevator, having gotten 1 fight and then 3 managers, and then you're done. And then this would be your Manip for that. You don't use these scripts during a run. Instead, what I have is I have created a document that has every single list value. I wrote these Python scripts to find these manipulations, and so I have a different manip written out for every single different possible list value that we could be starting at. So once again, though, the only way that we've discussed right now for you to know what your starting list is if it's 0, because you reset your console. So let's say it's 0 and you're at floor 15 here. What that would mean is that the first jump occurs after this many milliseconds. It's so hard to know like where to start here. And if you're really lost right now, don't worry. This is all gonna come together pretty soon here. Okay, so here we're in front of the door, but let's say that we just reset our console and so our list is 0. We can use these pre-researched manips in order to get one of these 3 floors by hitting the button this many milliseconds after a certain point. And what is that point? Okay, so here's the deal. The way that we manipulate the elevator is we heavily control the number of frames that are passing while we're in the elevator, and we heavily abuse the menu in order to control those frames. Yeah? So, the very first thing to do then is, remember a long time ago when I told you that if you hold triangle on a field at a time that you can't menu, it will open the menu as early as possible? That comes into play right now. You go into the elevator and start holding triangle. Just hold triangle, and what's going to happen is it's going to open the menu on the very first possible frame. That freezes your Hito count always at 81. And so all of the research that we've done ahead of time in order to figure this shit out, that's really important. It's all based on the assumption that you are starting on 81 here. Okay? So then here's kind of the problem with controlling frames is that the next part of what you have to do is very uncontrolled. You have to exit the menu, run up here, hit the button. Cloud then has to walk back down, and you have to go through some dialogue. And while you're in this dialogue, the Hito count is passing. So there's no reasonable way to completely control your Hito count right now. So instead, what we do is we just exit the menu while we start a timer. And then we run straight up to this position, which is just run up until you bonk. And then we hit the button with timing. So how do you time it? Well, good thing the Pokemon speedrunners solved this issue forever ago. There's this little program called FlowTimer. And FlowTimer, the way that I personally like to set it, this is a program where you tell it a certain amount of time, such as 7,000 milliseconds, and when you hit start, it counts it down and then gives you just like that. So you can set it to whatever you want. Some people, the default setting is 500 with 4 beeps, So like if we set it down to just like 3,000 here to make it a little bit quicker, you start it and then it will go. And you hit it on the 4th beep, right? I'm a drummer though, so I like to I want the intervals to be quicker. 9 beeps is good for me. It's a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, go, right? And so that's how I set it. Now, in order to hit, so here's the deal. With all the research that I told you before, if we are starting at list 0 and we are in the menu here, we need to start the timer right when we close this menu, and then we need to hit the button with timing. And this is why we want that 3-frame window. It's unreasonable to expect us to be frame perfect on this first button press based on a timer and based on me closing the menu with one hand and starting the timer with the other hand at the same time and then frame perfect hitting the time. It's a little unreasonable to expect that every time. So instead of aiming for a specific frame, that is why we aim for a window of 3 frames. But depending on which one of these frames that we hit, our list value is going to be different, and so the entire rest of the manipulation is going to be different. So that's why on this document that I have of all of these different lists, it's always 3 manipulations. This is the frame perfect, this is a frame early, this is a frame late. And you know which one you got based on what floor you land on. So if you... And so that's why I say that 19, 15, 17 are the best 3 floors, but like 19, 19, 17 would not be a good window to research, because if you land on 19, you don't know which one it was. So, and no, it wouldn't be the same manipulation because it's the same floor, because one of the 19 would be a Hito of, let's say, 27, which would be 1 stone value, which equals another list value. This one would be a Hito of 28 then, which got you a list value set 16 later, right? One of them might be this, like this one and this one, for example, might get you the same floor, but if your next floor that you need to hit is this one, then going from here to here is a different Hito than going from here to here, right? And so they gotta be all 3 different. So 19, 15, 17, here they are. And in order to, so what my document has written down is, in order to aim for floor 15 specifically, you set your flow timer to this. I'm going to warn you though, BizHawk has extra loading time, so I'm going to have to do this a little bit differently. I think we have to add a frame. I'm not positive. I'm just going to add 1 frame and we'll see if it works. On console, this works every time. But on BizHawk, I'm not sure. Let's just try it. Okay, here we go. Don't fast forward, because that throws the timer off. All right. That got us 19 once again. So that means that I would say to ourselves, okay, our manipulation is 10, 6, 1, 5. So now we got to talk about some business. So here's the deal. Because we hit it on the right page, or on the right spot. So my document here, what it accounts for is we've hit the button. We've hit the button from this specific position where we ran up until Cloud bonked, which means then we hit the button with timing, and then it accounts for the fact that now we wait, Cloud has to run back to the party, a battle starts, and that battle is going to start on this count exactly. It's going to be the same number of frames every time. And then, luckily, because this isn't the field module, the Hito count is no longer running. And so now what we have is just a battle that can take any amount of time. But now when we load back in here, it's going to be, the Hito count is going to start again. So what we have to do, because this is what the script accounts for that created these manipulations, is we need to walk up at the button, be buffering up so that on the frame that Cloud can move again, he will start walking up towards the button. And then we have to time a menu hit as he gets to the button. And how do we time it? Like this. So these are all of the different frames of when you hit menu, you need to look at Cloud's hair as you hit menu and see how many frames it took you to hit the button. As far as the manipulation is concerned, the default position, the position that the numbers expect, is this one. That means you were frame perfect on your menu, and so the number of frames that the document tells you to wait is the number of frames that you should wait, which in this case is going to be 10. Now, let's say that his hair looks like this, though. That means that we menued 1 frame early. So if we menued too soon, then the Hito count is 1 less than we expect it to be for our 10 extra frames that we have to wait. So if you see this, it means just add a frame and do 11 instead of 10 in this particular case. It means add 1 to it, wait an extra frame. If you see this, that means you were a frame late, so you wait 1 less frame. And if you see this, you were 2 frames late, and you should wait 2 less frames. Now, you might notice that these 4 are extremely easily identifiable one by the other. Like, it's very easy to tell these 4 apart. These 3, on the other hand, way too similar, and these, on the other hand, all way too similar. So it's my suggestion, or it's my style, to only aim for one of these 4, so that you can very quickly, easily, and reliably identify which one you've struck. What would be the benefit of learning all 11 possible positions? So, the benefit of learning more positions and being able to identify all of them would be like, let's say that you have to wait 10 frames right now. 10 frames is a lot of menu buffers to have to do, and menu buffers, as we're going to see in a second, are kind of slow. And so if I was on a 10, I would be kind of purposefully aiming for this one so that I only have to do 8, because that's faster. But if you were really good, you could aim for this one, and then you only have to wait 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. You would only have to do 5 menu buffers if you could recognize this one and hit it, So that would be the benefit. You could save time by going ultra late. It comes with some extra conditions, though, which we'll talk about in a moment. So my style is to aim for these 4. So right now, in our particular example that we're practicing, is we need to do 10 menu buffers. And so what we're going to do here is walk up. Boom, time that menu. Did you see it? Did you guys catch it? Which one was it? It was 1 late. we got this one. And so that was 1 late, which means instead of 10 menu buffers, we need to do 9. So remember, the purpose of this is to pass 1 frame each time we do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And assuming that I did my first button press correctly, the way that I do the next part is, and this can also be a thing that you can complicate later to get faster, but my style is I always hold X, circle, and up to press the button out of the menu. X, circle, and up. Floor 29. So that gives us Hito. So now, that means that in order to get to floor 38, we need to do 6 frames. But wait! It is time for the next level of complication on this. However, this is the final layer of complication on how exactly the elevator manipulation works, alright? This is the last layer of complication. Of the 4 here that I like to aim for, these 2, everything's fine. You either do the exact number of menu buffers, or you do 1 more menu buffer, right? And then you're good, and then you continue. If you got one of these 2, though, the deal is, that means that Cloud walked further away from the party, which now means that it's going to take him, it took him an extra frame to run back to the party. So we already accounted for the extra frames walking up because, you know, we did less menu buffers for that. But now he runs back to the party, and we walked up. So that's why it's not a 1-for-1 comparison here. He runs back to the party. The numbers that I have on my document have these be the neutral fine ones. And then these ones, though, take 1 extra frame for Cloud to walk back. Which means that instead of waiting 6 frames on the next for the next floor, we have to discount 1 and wait 5 frames instead. Alright? But now that's 5 from the neutral position. So, let's see if I can pull it off then. So 5. We were 1 late again. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. X circling up. 38, we get a manager. So now, because we were 1 late again, that means that once again, we have to discount 1 from this one, and this 1 becomes a 0. 0 is very scary, especially with BizHawk lag. It might take me more than 1 try to get this. But, so let's go for a 0 now. You don't want to overshoot a 0. Okay, I did it perfectly. So that one was right on. So for 0, we just go now. There's 47. So now the next one is 5 frames. And because we got the neutral position on the last one and not a frame late, that means that this one is going to be 5 as expected to get to floor 59. That actually looked like I was 3 late, I think. And so I'm going to go 1, 2. So that time I actually recognized that I was an extra 1 late. I'm getting better at this. And there is a manipulated elevator. So there, from start to finish, is 1 encounter, 3 managers, and that. You don't want to run up to the button because you want as many different frames of animation as possible to be able to recognize. And walking is more frames. So let's take that again from the top. And once again, just like if you were to reset your console after saving in front of Shinra, we are going to assume that your list is 0 going in, and we're going to go through how exactly the elevator manip works. Once again, but much faster this time, just showing everything off. And this time, to prove kind of that we're not cheating about anything else, we're going to have list be 0 here, right? And then I'm going to have this document up, because you would have this basic text document up while you're running, you know. But I don't have RAM watch up anymore, you know? So I cannot look at my RAM values. All right, here we go. So it's hold triangle as you get in. That freezes your Hito count at an expected amount. Then, hang on, I got a cat getting cozy on me. Then start those at the same time. The timer and closing the menu at the same time, I mean. All right, we got 15. So that should be this manip right here. And so our manip is 4325. All right. So we're buffering up 4. I was 1 frame late, so 1, 2, 3 instead of 4. And now that also means that the 3 for floor 38 is actually a 2 now. Okay. Just 1, because I was a frame late. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, no, that was correct. And so now the 2 for the next one is actually a 1, because I was late. Okay, that becomes I was 1 late, so the 1 is a 0 instead, so we just go. And now the 5 is a 4 instead. So as you can see, it's actually fast to be late. Because as long as you don't, like, go too late. So the 4 is now 1, 2, because I was 2 frames late. And there you go. Because sitting there opening and closing the menu is slow. So you want to be late to have to do less menu buffers. And so there you go. From start to finish, assuming you know your list is 0 from start to finish, that right there was a manipulated elevator. So next we're going to cover how you know what list you're on. Are there any more questions about, like, setting the timer to aim for a window? The floor that you land on tells you what manipulation you're on. And then how many menu buffers is based on what Cloud's hair looks like. Does all of this make sense, or did I skip over something? Or should I do another one? I think we should do one more. Does it matter what floor 59 outcome you get at the end? Technically, it does matter which floor 59 outcome you get at the end. Technically. Because whatever stone lands you on floor 59 is going to be your stone all the way until Bone Village, and that's going to affect RNG in a couple places, including the, the command minigame in Junon later, where you have to do the button presses? That's based on your list in stone. And so if you are on certain stones, you have a better chance to get a better command game, such as Stone 33. Stone 33 happens to be very good for the command game. And so let's just say hypothetically 5 menu buffers would land you on floor 59 with Stone 224. But 6 menu buffers would land you on floor 59 with Stone 33. That one more menu buffer would actually be better, because Stone 33 would probably save you time on the command game later. However, my personal document here, as well as the way that I do elevator manipulation at this point, does not get that nitty-gritty. You don't know what your stone is based on what my document tells you. But that is a level of nitty-gritty that you could choose to get to if you wanted with your research. All right, so let's run through the manip one more time just to make sure everybody knows exactly how this shit works. Actually, you know what? Let's roleplay a different list value. Let's just say our list was 144, and let's just say we knew that. This one has a branch. If we get 17, there's a branch. And we can talk about, like, other things to do that, in case things go wrong as well. But alright, so let's do this one. So pop in here, remember, hold triangle, because that freezes your Hito count at a known value. And then we exit the menu, thus also restarting our Hito count at the same time. Run up and hit the button. Don't fast forward your emulator. All right, 19, 15, 17 is our window. We got 19, so that's like a frame early. And so maybe taking off 2 frames was too much for BizHawk. So 19 meant we were a frame early on the window, which means that we are on this manip now. We're on this path. So that's 2, 10, 14, 5, which is pretty slow. Okay. So the first one again is 2. Alright, we were too late, so that makes it a 0. And then that position makes the 10 into a 9, because it was one of the latter 2. So that takes 1 off this, so instead of 10, we're after 9 now. Alright, that was too late, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... And you can't see the inputs, but again, I'm pressing X and then holding triangle to reopen the menu. And then here, it's exit the menu, holding up X and circle to hit the button. Alright, so then the 14 becomes a 13, because we were in the late position. And then you're buffering up here. I'm already holding up. Alright, so that was 13, and we were 1 late, so 1, 2, 3... 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Alright, and since we were 1 late, the 5 becomes a 4. Or I should say, because we were in the late area. So 4... We were too late there, so the 4 becomes a 2. And there you go. Okay, so I can imagine now there is the burning question in the audience. Because we now understand exactly how the elevator works, we understand how to manipulate the elevator, given that we know what our list value is incoming. So the burning question then is, how do we know what our list value is? Well, it is now time to get back to where we left off. So here is where we're at in the walkthrough, and the walkthrough is now the portion of the game where we are going to go to Eris's house and basically break the news that Eris has been kidnapped. So yeah, if you're a PC player, you can be done now, because you just save and reset at the save point, and then your list is always 0. But if you are on PlayStation, it's time to talk about pre-HQ Manip. So all of the research that I just showed you, as far as like the Python scripts and the and the development of this whole document and stuff, I did all this research and work myself because I heard from a little bird that Brutal was working on a way for us to know what list value we were on. And so I was like, oh shit, I better be prepared for that. If I'm going to know, if we're going to be able to know what list we're on, I better make a manip for every single list, right? And so I wrote a script to do that. So, here we go. At this point in the run, here's the deal. Your list could be anything at this point. because there are several screens leading up to this point, including like all of the train sequence and Tifa's bar, where list is incrementing every single frame, right? So it would be completely unreasonable to expect someone to manipulate their list value all throughout the game at this point, especially having to perform Jesse skip while list is incrementing every frame, you know? So your list value could be anything. So we're going to figure out what it is. And the way that we can figure out what it is remember how we were talking about how, like, we were showing the visual elements of scripts and how they use random numbers and that's what increments list? Well, check this out. You might notice that list is quite stationary on this particular screen because there's no random scripts. But on this screen, list is moving. And it's moving pretty quickly. Do you know what is doing it? Do you know what is random on this screen? I'll give you a hint. It's right here. You see these glows? You see these glows flashing? So really kind of what we're looking at is down here. I kind of look at this line right here, you know? And when it glows up. Every time that glows, this number ticks up. And it ticks up by 33 always, because when you do the squats minigame, your stone is set to 33. So your stone will always be 33 at this point. And another nice little thing is that this waterfall is the only thing on this screen that's calling RNG, which means it's extremely linear and predictable. So what that means is stone is always 33. So our list of 256 numbers that are arranged in a random order are always arranged in the same order at this point in the game. Which then means that the pattern of glows that this thing randomly does is always the same sequence of 256 glow patterns repeating. And what it does is every time that it glows, it calls RNG to decide one of 3 values of milliseconds or of frames to wait before it glows again. So there are 3 different glow wait times that you can see, and depending on which ones you see, depending on what the last 9 of them that you see are, you know where you are on the RNG table. But how do you know that? Well, that's where Brutal comes in. So Brutal created this spreadsheet, and it's updating right now to deal with the lack of data that we've put into it. And we'll talk about this spreadsheet in a second, actually. I just wanted to introduce it real quick. First, we need to run through this part and grab the ether and the cover materia and then go into the house. And when we go into the house, we need to watch back the gameplay of us running into the house in slow motion and use a stopwatch in order to time them out. So, what most of us use is Windows stopwatch here. And so you just have that running on your PC. And here we go. So what you actually do on this part is you run up here, grab the ether, grab the cover, and right when I go in the door, I hit a hotkey. And this hotkey, right now, it automatically played an instant replay, but generally I have studio mode on to stop that from happening. Usually it'll just queue it up on another scene. So here's my speedrun scene, and then I've got another speedrun scene that takes away my camera, and it puts the gameplay on the bottom right, so that for verification purposes, the gameplay is still displayed on screen for this part, but the main part of the window is my gameplay being played back at 25% speed. So this is something that anybody can set up in OBS. Just look up the OBS replay buffer or an OBS instant replay kind of scene. How it works is you just set up your replay buffer to save the last, like, I think it's set at 10 seconds right now. And then I have a hotkey that saves the last 10 seconds of the replay buffer to a file. And then that file, or there's a Lua script that sets it sets a media source to always play back that last file. So I've got a media source in OBS that always plays back the last file that was saved. And so I'm kind of looking at the bottom of the waterfall, like I was saying. And every time that it glows, I'm going to hit lap. So the middle button here, the lap, I'm hitting that. Okay. Coming back here, this is where the spreadsheet comes in. Because now what we have are these are the different amount, so these lap times are the different amounts of times that it took between glows, which tells us what the RNG value was that it returned, which if we have enough of them, tells us where we are on the string of the RNG table. So, we just take the last 9. There's 10 spots here, but I take the last, I start at 9, and you go down the list, but you go up the spreadsheet. And so, at 25% speed, something that's around 1.5 seconds is a 1. Something that's around 2.1 to 2.2 seconds, somewhere around there, is a 2. And something that's more like 2.8 seconds, 2.7, 2.8, that's a 3. So those are the only 3 lengths of glows that you need to worry about. There's quite a bit of room for error there for you to figure it out. So this particular pattern was 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2. So you see right here, 1.49. So 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2. And so, that string, there's only one part. At stone 33, the RNG table is always in that order of the numbers. And so, if you were to give it 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 1, which is the reverse order of what I just said, that string, that unique string, only appears once on the entire list, And so what that means is when we entered the building, that immediately cut those scripts and it loaded this field instead. This field has no randomness to it, and so list isn't moving anymore. And so whatever we were at right when we left the room, that's what it stopped at. And that's why we look at the last 6 glows, is so that we know where did we stop the table from moving. And so, just like that, right here, the sheet says, okay, this was your pattern that you typed in. That is indeed unique. There's only one list that matches that, and that list is 120. Take a look at this. Indeed, we are on list 120. So, from there, that spits out a bunch of potential lists that you'll be at when you get to the elevator. Because we're about to have to run to the Shinra HQ, and there's a few screens that have RNG moving on those screens, so your list value is going to change, but we're going to be very controlled on those screens and have very precise movement so that a expected number of RNG calls happen. This one's actually kind of rotten. I don't really like these values, but that's why on my Manip document here, I color-coded them so I know, like, how easy the opening window is to hit. And we can see the sheet also kind of highlights columns that are good because of the way that it generally works, you know? With, you know how I was talking about how, like, one list value means that you can only get a list value from the next column? That tends to mean that the different columns of list values are also very similar to each other as far as, like, how good the opening windows are, you know? And so with this information, the spreadsheet also, you know, Brutal kind of came up with that, or kind of realized the same thing, and like emboldened certain columns, like 10. So 58 seems okay. If I cross-reference that with my sheet, it's green. You know, green means that it's all right. It's pretty good. And so here's the deal, though. So these are all the values that you could get. So how do you know which one you're going to get? Well, this is actually like a selection of which value you want. Because when we leave this cutscene... Oh god, I have so many windows open. By the way, this is why I'm a right side taskbar user. Look at how many fucking windows I have open. But look, I can still read what every one of them is. So when we leave this cutscene, none of anything in this cutscene calls RNG, but when we leave, we're going to be back outside the house, and the waterfall is there again. Dun dun dun, the waterfall is there fucking with our RNG table. And after every glow of the waterfall, this is what list value you would land on if you went, if you ran to Shinra HQ after that. So we are going to purposefully wait on that screen to allow the waterfall to take us to a more to a better list value. And so if we put an X here on this column to mark that, like, yeah, I want this one. The reason I like this one is because, you know, the column 10 is okay. I checked list 58. It seems okay. And right here, this is the size of the window that you have to leave. Because we're going to have to wait about 1 second. We're going to have to wait a certain amount of time, which is going to be measured by this, and we'll talk about that in a second. We're going to have to wait a certain amount of time, and then we're going to have a 21 frame window to leave. Because basically we're going to be leaving after one of those 3 ticks that has a long wait after it, you know? If you were trying to get in between a short tick and the next one, you'd only have 11 frames. Or 16 in the middle, or a 21. So this is actually what those 1, 2, and 3s are that we measured out with the stopwatch before. Sometimes the waterfall waits 11 frames, sometimes it waits 16, sometimes it waits 21, depending on the value that it gets back. And so it's really good to try to leave after a 21 tick. It's the easiest thing to do. So how we're going to actually time that is by looking at the save crystal that's out there and kind of acting like it's the minute hand of a clock, right? And counting how many hours and then how many minutes it goes around. So we're going to wait for it to go around 3 hours and 8 to 25 minutes, quote unquote. And that's like, you know, that's how we're going to time out hitting this 21 frame window. 3, 8 to 25. So let's do that. So, I guess I should talk more about the actual cutscene here. Because one thing is that when you first enter the building, you should hit the hotkey to save your replay buffer, right? Then you should mash, and there are like 4 text boxes or so. Basically what happens is there's a few text boxes, then the camera goes up to black void, and there's 1 text box at the black void. Once you clear that, you have like a minute of free time to count, to switch to your other scene, watch your VOD back, count the elevators, I always call it the elevator, count the waterfall glows, put the data into the sheet, right? You've got time to do all that. Then you've got a few text boxes to clear. There's just like 4 text boxes at that point. And then this part of the cutscene starts before this text comes up, and you have like another 30 seconds at that point of no mashing to then analyze this data, choose which one you want, memorize this, and then take a look over here as well, because there's an important thing here and here that refer to how you need to move on a certain screen. You know, and you just take on all this information, 3, 8 to 25, then you come back before this text comes up, and you mash through this. And you mash through the rest of the scene. So now we know 3, 8 to 25, regular movement. And that is exactly why, if you're ever watching me do a run, I say that, something like that out loud. 3, 8 to 25, regular movement. Okay, so when Cloud kind of comes down and Barrett walks up here, get ready, because the camera's going to pan down and you need to try to leave. So what I do is I buffer up left and then down left to exit the room as quickly as possible, just like that. Now, I have heard that it's faster to go down and then left and then down left. You know, I don't know. Yeah, it's a pretty small difference. So, do you remember? 3, 8 to 25. Ready to look for it? All right. It is this right here that we're looking at. And the actual minute hand is at the big point, right? The big side point. So right now it's just after 15. It's at like 20 right now with 0 hours. So 3, 8 to 25, right? So that's 1. This is the 1 position, and we're mashing right now. 15, 130, 145, 2, right? You get it? 230. And we were doing 3, 8 to 25. So that's 3, like 8 to 25 is about right there. All right. And so in a run, you would just have to trust that you did it right. Oh, and what you press there is you're holding X and the actual timing, the thing that you're pressing in that window, it's not actually hitting the edge of the screen. It's when you press left to exit the screen. So we pressed left while holding X in that timing window, and that should have left us at the right time. And in a run, you just have to hope you did it right, because there's no way to track your list on the way up there. You know, you just need to, you know, hope I did it right. Now, the spreadsheet does actually tell us, though, that we should be at 169 right now, and indeed we are. So we've done a good job so far. And so in practice mode here, being able to monitor our RAM, we know that we've done it correctly, but in an actual run, you would just have to assume you did it correctly. You know what I mean? All right. So next up is shopping. So in the middle of all this business, it's time to do a shop. As you come out of Eris's house, I would recommend buffering up and left and run, and then switching to just up, and then buffering up, right, and run while mashing circle to talk to this guy. This is the weapons shop. And here we just need to buy a bunch of grenades. So what we purchase, first go to sell items, and then sell everything except your grenades and potions. So we want to keep grenades and potions. So sell all 4 ethers, that guy, both the Phoenix Downs, even the assault gun, we're not going to need it. Keep the grenades and potions. Then, back out twice, go over to buy, down to grenades, and we're going to buy 52 grenades, if you've been following along. These exact numbers you can come up with yourself. You can kind of research your own route, your own money route, your own grenade route, and that kind of thing, and you can come up with your own numbers. But if you've been following along exactly with what I've been doing so far, including like picking up the hyper behind Don Corneo and all that, you buy 52 grenades here. And so the way that you can do it is it's very easy. When you hit circle, it starts at 1, and you can use up to go by increments of 10. But check it out. If you hold up, it flies right up to 51. And it won't go to 52, or it won't go to 61, because you can't afford 61. So at the starting point of 1, just hold up to go up to 51 really fast, and then slide your thumb off to the right to go to 52. Yeah? So it's just boom, just like that. And you should have more than, you need 300 here to buy the batteries. So we cannot afford another grenade because, you know, we need 300 to buy the batteries, and one more grenade would put us below that. So there you go. Once again, that shop is just up here. Talk to this guy. Over to sell. I also use the holding trick to sell the 4 ethers there. And there you go. Just like that. So that's kind of more at speed. I would also recommend making save states and practicing your menus over and over again. However, the menus are going to feel a lot better once you're actually on PlayStation because, oh boy, the lag is the worst on menus. Moving on. Okay, so now we got to run straight off to buy the batteries. The next thing that we're going to do is run into the weapon shop at Wall Market and buy the batteries. On the way, though, there's a couple things that we're going to have to be aware of. One little routing difference also that I'd like to point out is if you are not manipulating the elevator, in fact, if you are not doing the elevator at all, and you're going to do stairs, stairs takes less grenades. So you may buy 40 grenades instead of 52, or 41, right? And have 1,300 Jill coming out of that shop. And if you do that, and you're doing the stairs anyway, so you don't have to worry about all your... Like, right now, we're talking about a bunch of stuff that worries about our list value. If you're not worried about list because you're doing stairs, and you buy the 12 less grenades, then you can afford to buy an extra cover materia from the materia shop in Wall Market if you want. And you can route that into your menus to kind of have a little bit of a safer end game. It's not that big of a deal, though. I would not personally recommend it, but it is a thing that, you know, I used to do and some people used to do also. On our way back, so this screen, you just do the opposite of how you came in, down, down, left, and left. This room, you don't have to worry about your list value there. You also don't have to worry about your list value on this screen. Nothing random is happening. But this room is a bit of a stinker as far as movement goes. So we're going to go, I go up left into up right, right, up right, down left, left. I mean, you can see my, you can see the inputs here. But let's slow that down a little bit. So it's up left and then 90 degrees to go up right. And then I'm basically trying to just go up right here, but you need to put in a little bit of a right to, you know, get onto that. And then I kind of try to go straight up and then straight right and then switch to down left on this part. There might be a little bit of upright. I think it's straight up, straight right. Oh, no, it's not straight right. Oh, God. It's so weird when you think about it ahead of time instead of just doing it naturally. But yeah, I there's a little bit of upright into straight right there. And then it's like either down left or you can go like down into down left real quick. About here, you can start just holding left and then up left and then up. Because remember, dragging on sides, dragging on shit is good. So just up here. And then about here, I start holding up right. And upright will take you like all the way across the beam, you know, upright all the way like that. About here though, you go straight up until you're going to start hitting this if you go upright. So then upright will take you all the way to the corner of this thing and then you go straight up. Now, you're going to get into a battle here. You want to get into a battle here if you're on this step route. If you're on the step route that I've been talking about, force a battle here. If your steps are very, very, very good, you have to force a fight here. Otherwise, you're probably going to get the fight... generally, you're going to get the fight somewhere in here. If your steps are very, very, very good, you have to force it up here. If your steps are kind of bad, you're going to get it back here. Don't take that personally. It's going to happen. You know, if you get the fight before this crack, you're still fine, but you may have to do some steps in order to avoid an encounter coming up. And so I think that I should actually... So this is save state number 6. Okay, I'm going to show that in a bit. But yeah, so for this one... for this one, I have to force the encounter. So just, you know, run left and right a little bit. It's a preemptive. Okay. So the next screen, if you're not doing elevator manip, you can just run through it. But if you are, the next screen has very specific movement. Very specific. You have to spend an exact number of frames on this next screen sometimes. The window depends on RNG. It might be frame perfect. So here's how you do it. When you come into the room, be buffering up already. So be buffering up already. And now you wanna switch to upright at some point that it gets you in here, you know? So switch to upright to get in here. So like boom. Okay. And then keep holding upright until Cloud kind of bumps on the wall, at which point switch to just up. So he'll bump, switch to just up, and then at some point after you've passed this pipe, as you're going straight up and you've passed this pipe and Cloud is starting to go up left, switch to upright and hold upright through the entire screen. And he's going to run upright out and exit about right here, which is, it takes more frames than if you were to switch to just right. You know, you can exit the screen a little bit faster by going just right if you're not doing elevator manip, but because we are specifically being on the screen for an exact number of frames, just hold upright all the way until we exit. So to show that, it looks like that. And so, let's show it a couple more times, like in real time. So it's up, upright into here. When he bumps, switch to up, then switch to upright again. And that's it. One more time. All right, so that's how you do that screen. This screen, no list crap that you have to worry about. And so we just you actually, so the upright that you exited with the last room from the last room, you can just keep holding that into this room and then switch to up. But now the next screen is another screen where your movement matters. So we're going back into wall market. So you should be buffering up and run into this room. You know, you have to be buffering it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to cut right and go around the right side and then go left. And in order to make sure that you've lined everything up just right and you're not spending any extra movement or anything, so switch to upright and then up here. And if you kind of brush on this corner right here, that's good. You know, whether you ran far enough to not brush or you brushed is the same. What you don't want to do is run too far, you know? And so I aim for a slight brush here to make sure that I'm not overrunning, you know? Then up, then left here. Same thing right here. You want to kind of brush on this corner just a little bit. And it's up all the way out here, all the way through. You'll brush on that as well just a little bit. And there you go. That's the movement. So once again, let's show it in real time. So buffering up at first, up right behind this thing, brush on that a little bit, up left, brush on that a little bit. That's it, that's the movement. Next screen also matters. So still be buffering up and run. And what's going to happen is first you're going to brush on this thing. Then you want to switch to upright until you're kind of... you don't want to bump into this hand. So you want to go upright soon enough to be able to switch to up and get in between these two things. So yeah. So like boom, boom, and then switch back to upright, you know. Once you've gone through these things, switch back to upright. And then once you're about here, you can switch to just up. And Cloud will brush on this wall and go into the building. I overran that just like the tiniest little bit there. It doesn't always matter, though, because it's RNG, you know? All right, so everything in real time here. Just like that. And now this room, there's no RNG, so you don't got to worry about it here. Very luckily, because you got to talk to this guy and buy the batteries. And so now, we've got a little bit more movement in an RNG-laden area. The RNG in the next room is the kids swinging their arms around, which they stop doing when you approach them. So the moment that the kids' text box appears because their next script has initiated, RNG stops changing at that point. And so, here we go. Buffer down left to get out of here, left around the hand, and then switch to up left and then up kind of around here. And this part is a little bit less precise than the other parts, I think. So yeah, just get yourself around these things, you know? And then the moment that this text box comes up, there is no longer RNG moving on this screen. So switch to upright. Try to get in between the kids, you know? It's just like a second faster than if you get behind all of them. And this screen does not have RNG movement in it anymore. So once you're here, we're good. So should we take that from the top here, all the way back here? So yeah, all the way back here. Let's go through all that again. So if you're not doing elevator manip, or you're doing stairs, you know, you don't have to worry about the frame perfection. Just run through the screens. All right, cut there, up, and then upright, all the way out. Keep it held into this screen, switch to up. Keep that held into this screen. Brush. Ooh, I didn't brush there. So I overran just a little bit. Hopefully that's fine. All right. And then down left here. And left and up in here. And there you go. So, that is the movement between Eris's house and the cable. And so now we've got 2 more screens to worry about as far as movement goes. One of them is very easy. The other is very hard. So, let's do it. First thing you do is you talk to this kid and you get a cutscene. You just mash through the cutscene, nothing special to it. Now, there is a menu that you want to do somewhere between now and the Shinra HQ. I choose to do it on the cable right here. I just menu once I grab the cable. So, the first part of this menu is optional. This is a me thing. I like to go into Materia on Cloud and swap lightning for cover. There's 2 reasons that I do this. The first reason is to unequip lightning, giving Cloud more strength, because I'm going to use his Braver on one of the guards in the lobby, and I don't want it to underroll damage. If he has lightning equipped, his strength might not actually be high enough, and he might not kill the guard. But if you unequip lightning, I haven't had it screw you yet. Or I haven't had it screw me yet, I mean. And then the benefit of cover is that him having cover on him will increase the chances that he'll build up another Braver by the time we get to Rufus. I want him to be covering attacks and getting limit bar throughout the entire Shinra HQ sequence. So that's it. So quick go down to Materia, and then it's when you select lightning, it's 1, 2, 3 down to get to cover and put it on. Come back out, 1, 2, 3 down, back row Tifa and Barrett, 2 more down, switch it to ATB wait. So the only part of this that's like mandatory is switching to ATB wait. And the reason is going to come up at the top of the elevator. The reason comes up a couple times. Basically, we don't want the enemy to get fight. There's nothing that like active is helping us with for the next couple fights. But wait might prevent the enemy from getting a turn. So yeah, that's very, very important. Tifa and Barrett in the back row makes it so that they start taking less damage. They only take half damage from physical attacks. Cloud, I still want in the front row, though, because, again, we want him to build up a limit bar. And so I don't want him to be taking less damage. So there you go. The menu is Materia Cloud, down 3 to cover, order, back row Tifa Barrett, config, ATB wait. Alright. So on this screen, so this is a screen now where list is going to start moving again. I believe what it is are these little glowy lights. They take a random number before they change. So this screen we have to get through in a specific timing window. It's very, very easy to do that, though, because all you have to do is make the cycle for the first bar swing and get on the first bar, and it's really easy to do that. So here's how I do it, at least. Let's make a save state here. And so be buffering up as you go in here and switch to up left. So you run up here. And then he jumps, switch to down as he jumps. Switch to down as he jumps there too. That's actually something that I didn't know at first. So let's call that out. Both times that he jumps, switch to just down. So jump, switch to down, go around. He jumps, switch to just down, and that gets you right down to the battery. It looks like maybe you should press down, right? Nah, just press down. He's got some dialogue boxes. You gotta wait for all this, but again, don't worry too much because you have quite a bit of leeway to make the pole swing that we're looking for. All right, and then the movement here is a little strange. I guess I would suggest just practicing these screens a lot. I'll go through it a little bit more detail in a second. But okay. So, I hesitated on that text box there a little bit. The way that you jump onto this bar, first try, every time, is you hit circle just after the squeak. Not on the squeak, just after it. Yeah? That's it. That's the trick. Hit circle just after the squeak. And now, at this point, it is time to recall these two bits of information from the spreadsheet in order to get the list values that we expect. R, capital U, means run up. So what that means is after you have grabbed the pole, you just buffer run up for the entire rest of the screen, and you'll be good. Sometimes you'll get R and then capital UR. What that would mean is you would buffer just run up after Cloud lands from the pipe until he starts climbing. And when Cloud starts climbing, at that point, add right, so that you run upright off the side of the screen. There might even be like a WU for a walk up. I haven't seen that in a long time, though, so I don't know if that's still the case. So yeah, RU is the most common. It just means run up. But yeah, very specifically, if you're using the spreadsheet, right here, you should always run up. Coming off of the pole, landing right here, and running up to the climb, always should be run up. And then when Cloud starts climbing, this now is where you implement the instruction right here, which most of the time is just keep holding run up. And there you go. So now, let us kind of go through much more specifically exactly how to get through this room. It's sort of just intuitive. I guess I haven't really thought about it all that much, but I buffer up left right here until Cloud jumps, and then you switch to just down, into down right and right, and up right and right. You know, you just kind of zigzag through, and then when he jumps, start holding just down to get straight down to the batteries. There's 3 text boxes, and then while the propeller spins here, this is actually a nice time to go, okay, so I was on list 58, then on this sheet, I've got 58, hang on, I have to explain this a little bit more. This is a good time to do this, but, so check this out. On my grid of possible list values, you might notice that there's hidden asterisks in between each of them. So the reason for that is because if you're on list 58, you can just highlight 58 with the asterisks, and go Control F, enter, and escape, and then that jumps you right down to that manip. So that's the reason for that. And then so you have time to do that, and then real quick open up your FlowTimer and set your milliseconds here to what it says there. Now again, we're on BizHawk though, so I'm gonna set it to 1 frame earlier. Okay, so yeah, while this propeller spins and takes a million years, it's a perfect time to set up your FlowTimer and get your manip open. And then I just buffer just up and run into, like, you know, you gotta do some uprights, left here, up left once you're on this thing, up left while mashing circle to put the battery in this thing, then it's up left into just up. And just up until you see the text boxes. It's 2 text boxes. It's only 2 text boxes. Do not mash here or you will jump off the pipe. So just 1 text box, 2 text box. Very simple. And then right after the squeak, hit circle. Holding up and X until we get to climbing. Then you do what the sheet says. And we're out of the room. There you go. At this point, this screen is quite difficult. What I do for this screen is I hold up left while Cloud is climbing, and he gets off, and up left is going to get him all the way up to this climb. And then I hold up left until he's on this thing right here, at which point you switch to up right. So up left and then up right now. Okay, so it's up right at this point, and then when Cloud is over the left side of this thing, there's this like thing right here. When he's on the when Cloud's body, like the center of it, is lined up with the left side of this, I switch to down left. So it's or down right. Sorry. So it's upright right now, and then switch to down right there until he starts climbing. When he starts climbing, switch to just right. And then once he's off and kind of around the corner there, switch to just up. So that's that room. That room is, you might call it fucky wucky. It's very easy to lose frames here, which is very bad for elevator manip. You don't want to expend extra list values here. So practice. This room is extremely important to get right. Up right, down right, just up. All right. And so during a run, you would just have to trust yourself that you did everything right. We can verify right here that I have just shown everything correctly, and we are indeed on the list that we anticipated. So that's good. That's good. If you didn't set your FlowTimer or you didn't find your spot on the manip sheet, this cutscene is the next best place to do it because it's totally hands-free. You've got plenty of time here as well to set up what you need on your computer. This screen does not advance RNG either, so if you really needed, you could do it while this dialogue was up, but I mean, it should be done by now. So all right, here, no matter what you're doing, just tell them that you're going to bust on in. And if you are doing stairs, at this point, you would run left and you would go up the stairs. If you are doing elevator, straight ahead. And we are showing elevator here. You don't really got to explain stairs. All right. So the first thing that's going to happen here is we're going to get into a fight with 2 goons. And so Cloud has a Braver that I would like to use, and Barrett has good ATB. This is sort of ideal because remember the quickest way to throw a grenade is just to buffer up and circle coming into a fight because grenades are our top inventory slot. So it's going to go up circle to item, up circle to grenade because the second up doesn't do anything, and it's just grenade. And so holding up in circle here throws a grenade with Barrett, and then I'm going to try to sneak a Braver in with Cloud that's going to queue up during Barrett's attack animation here. So Here we go. Grenade 1 with Barrett. He got it. And then we just queue up a Braver during that, and we know that we got it because it's a Braver. It gets prioritized. And because we unequipped Lightning, that Braver is going to do enough damage to defeat the soldier. If you don't have a Braver there, or you don't want to do that strat, just throw 2 grenades. But that's how I do it. If I have a Braver, that's how I do it. Otherwise, you just throw 2 grenades. Alright. And you might be asking, like, why Bravers are so important. Or at this point, you've probably caught on that we need to unlock Cross Slash. So be counting how many Bravers we've gotten, you know, during a run. And it's usually 3 or 4 in Midgar. Rarely you'll get 5. So here, there's going to be one more dialogue box, but just buffer up right into up, right, up. We just want to run back here. Right here is another little brush spot, you know. Because, oh, by the way, this screen is live now. So this screen is live, but it's very low danger incrementation, so we don't expect to get a battle for a long time. Notice that we're getting under this battle, though. And do you remember when I was saying about the different positions that you might get this fight at back here? On the way back? If you get the battle, like, right here, you might have problems. And here's why. I'll show you. This area has very high danger incrementation, and this right here is the battle that we're sneaking under. You know? So if we get too much danger by running up here, right? And then we take all this and freeze it, and then and then load this. Oh, it looks like that actually just barely made it under. Okay, interesting. Let's try another one, yeah. You get the fight right here, let's say, right off the wooden beam. That means that the higher danger incrementation from this room is going to screw you. Because now, when we get to this battle, look at that. We're actually going to hit a battle in the, we're going to hit a battle in the lobby here. And let me show you why that's such a big deal. Well, first of all, it's a big deal because it throws your formations off. But then also, it's particularly bad because battles in this area are unescapable. So you have to use 2 more grenades also. And that just throws everything off. Yeah? Yeah. Now, of course, again, though, I always have to remind you, this is only if you are on the particular step count that I am using right now. Also, you might be asking, okay, so I showed that if you get the battle way back there on that one screen, you know, then that's bad. I guess I should show what you do if that happens. Again, it's this screen again, so it's that counterintuitive action of, oh, I got the I'm behind. That means now we have to take steps in order to get better, you know? And again, the further you are behind, the more steps you have to take. But if you, you know, if you did get the fight way back here and you just walk up to the crack basically and then start going, that might not have been enough actually. Oof, that wasn't enough. I think you have to walk like past the crack in order to make it okay. Okay. So yeah, walk like up past the crack, maybe? Did that help? Did that work? Let's find out. That did. Okay. The first one might have actually worked as well. So you can see that mitigated it. It puts you further behind, but you know, you don't want to mess up your steps. Okay, so back to our normal run though, where we had very good steps and almost had to force the encounter. Alright, so it is finally time for all of that elevator business to pay off, all of that waterfall glow counting, you know, particular movement in floors. What I do right here is I run straight up until there's like a dot right here, but I don't know, it's like in the light basically, switch to up left. You know, switch to up left about right there. Hold triangle. All right, and then where was my FlowTimer? There it is. You guys won't. You'll see it for the most part. Okay. Probably should have made a save state. All right, so we got 14. I haven't looked at this this document for a minute here. Is 14 good? Oh, apparently 14 is frame perfect. So yeah, the list 58 window that we were looking for was 15, 14, 21. So all right, we got 14. So our manip is going to be 1, 10, 11, 1. It's kind of a brutal one. It's not so bad. So there we go. This one's pretty bad. Ones are kind of brutal because you can't be too late, you know. And then also, if you were late on the preceding one, it turns it into a 0, you know. There we go. Okay, so we got we were 1 late, so it's 0. There you go. So now, because we were on the late side of things, that means the 10 becomes a 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because we were too late there. And then once again, because we were on the late side of things, the 11 becomes a 10. But now we don't want to be late for the 10, because that'll turn the 1 into a 0, and zeros are brutal. So, there we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is good because we were right on, but it was discounted to 10 by the previous one being late. So now because we were right on this one, the 1 at the end stays as a 1. And I was too late. Okay, so now we're going to talk about an ultra backup. So I was too late. But remember, 0 equals 16 because it's mod 16 on the ones that you can get. This is a crazy thing that you can do, and it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, depending on whether the 254 rollover occurred, but I don't think it usually does at this point. So here's what we do now. Because I was 2 frames late on a 1, that puts us at -1 right now, which is also 15. Because 0 equals 16. So 15 equals -1. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It's worth noting also that every one of these menu buffers goes by a little bit faster on PlayStation because of the faster loading times, rather than BizHawk, which emulates actual PS1. So this might work and it might not, depending on whether the Hito count rolled over at 254, because it's not mod 16 when there's not a 256 rollover. Let's see. Let's find out. Let's roll the bones. There we go. We got it. It's good. So there's an extreme backup that you can do, but it might make you in trouble. But there you go. All that menu buffering is still faster than stairs, not by too much anymore, but yes, it is still good. Stairs is not that bad though. Once again, to lay it out there also, if you don't want to do elevator manip, don't do the stairs. But I would recommend not doing unmanipulated elevator because it's so fucking frustrating to get bad elevators. So either do stairs or elevator manip is my opinion. And if you have to do a lot of menu buffers right there, like doing those 15 buffers sucks. Don't do that. That was a mistake. But if you have to, you know, that's the backup. Anyway, so yes, that is elevator manip. All the way from counting the waterfall glows using OBS's replay feature, to putting the data into a spreadsheet, to selecting a list that you want, to then opening my document to finding that list value and jumping down to it, putting those milliseconds into FlowTimer, and then executing the manip that you got. That's it. That's the whole thing.